Hi there, welcome to Magic Spark Crafts Crocodile Stitch tutorial. I'm Katie, and you can't see me right now because my technology is sort of limited right now. So what I have is my cell phone. It is set up on a tripod, and it's set in such a way that you can see my hands and my work. Eventually, I hope to be able to have better technology and better capabilities for you to be able to see who I am a little easier. But in the meantime, since what you're here for is crochet, we'll get right into it. So this is the Crocodile Stitch tutorial, and for your base pattern, just to note, this is for those who are a little more aware of crochet, how it works and why it works the way it does. You do need to know how to do chain stitch, double crochet, as well as, it's going to sound weird, but I can teach you this one during the video, post stitch. Now when I say a post stitch, that means you're going to go in front of a post or behind the post. In your double crochet, these are the posts. So this is 2 double crochet, that's one post, that's the other post. So we're going to move right into this. This is my base for a swatch, more or less, just a little basic way to do this. You're always going to want to chain in increments of 6 plus 3. So you're going to have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, and then you're going to add 3 more chains. Then what you do from there is you're going to double crochet in to the 3rd from the hook, chain 2, skip 2, 2 double crochet into the 3rd, chain 2, skip 2, 2 double crochet. These are going to become your foundation for the stitches themselves. Okay, so once you get to the end here, you should end on the first stitch with 2 double crochet. If you don't, go back and double check your counting. It took me a few times to do it myself. So let's move right along forward. We are here 2 minutes into the video. Hopefully we'll be able to get a little further. If you needed to pause, that's fine. We're here at our base, and now what we're going to do is, taking our hook, we're going to chain 1, okay, and then we're going to double crochet around the post. We're going to do this 5 times. So I'm going to yarn over. I'm going to try and make this so that the video is clear enough for you. We're going to push in between both of the double crochet, so on either side, pull through. So now you have 3 loops going around the first double crochet. That's a post stitch. This is going in front post only. So we're going to yarn over and do our double crochet. There we go. And there we go. Okay. So all that extra chain stitch did was add a little bit of space so that this doesn't curl up as much. We're going to go ahead and do 4 more double crochet into this first post. So now you should have a little bit of an easier separation to view. And I've got my yarn here. The yarn I'm using, if you're curious, is Red Heart yarn. It is spring green. It's the same color yarn I use for my zombie bunnies, which are based off of more or less a voodoo doll type thing, just a funny little bunny. So that's 2, 3, 4. I'm going to go a little slow on this one. Yarn over between both posts, pull through, and yarn over, pull through, pull through. Alright, so you have your first start here, and you can kind of see it forming. Now there are variations of how this stitch is done. Some people like to add a stitch between the 2 and reduce the stitch here. Others like to just add stitches down here. It depends on how pointy you want your crocodile stitch. The crocodile stitch can be used so many fun ways, so it really depends on how you want your stitch to look. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 3. Some of my projects I actually do a chain 1 between them. Others do a chain 3. The chain 3 is going to kind of show you a little bit more for you to see how it looks. So now we're going to go up the second post. We went down the first post, up the second post. Yarn over, we're going to go through, and this is where I start to fold over the project. It makes it a little easier to get into that post. Double crochet, we're going to do it again 5 times. So that's 1, 2, I do apologize, it does look like my phone is having some issues with the focus. I hope this is coming out clear enough. As I get better at the videos and as I get better at focus with my camera or my phone, or I get a better camera, anything like that, these videos will be updated periodically to look better, to be honest. So you can see here, we've got our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The way I'm counting that to make it easy on anybody, if you have trouble counting the braid tops, because it's double crochet, count the braid top of the first part of the stitch. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When you look at a double crochet, you're literally looking at a single crochet, single crochet. They look like a sandwich on top of each other. It's 2 single crochets stacked on top. So you have your top part of the braid and then your top part of the braid of the second. So I've got my 2 5s and I've got my 3, and then see that points it down a little more. That gives you a nice big space. So the next thing we're going to do, again, this comes down to everyone's preference. Some people do like to go ahead and go between the 2 posts and do a single crochet. This kind of brings it together nicely. Okay. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to now work on the next part, which is double crocheting around. So when you're holding crocodile stitch, it's going to look kind of weird because you're going to hold it from behind, where all you're seeing is the back side of the face. You're not going to be seeing the stitch when you're working with it. Everything kind of works in the same direction over and over and over again. From here, this is where we're going to end up with some interesting stitch works. So we're bringing the 2 double crochet back around so that we're looking at the front. We're going to go through. This is where working with it folded kind of comes in handy. What I tend to do is I fold it over, I stick my hook through the double crochet and into the hole between the posts of both double crochet. So my hook ends up going through from this side this way, and then it comes out this side. If that makes any sense to anybody, that's great. If it doesn't, let me try and get a visual here. So I've got my hook yarned over through the post. So now it comes through and you can see it's right between. There we go. So we're going to do 5 double crochet. In the same post, the same way we did the first time. So that's 2, 3. It does get easier. Now, one of the beautiful things is one time I heard somebody refer to this stitch by a specific term that made it so much more easy for me to like it when I have a lot of extra yarn that I just want to get rid of. They called this the Great Yarn Eater. And honestly, it really is. Just one crocodile stitch takes so much yarn, it's not even funny. So I've got my 5 there, and you can see this is already forming. For this one, you should, if you want to continue to keep continuity, do the 3. I'm going to do a 1 just to show you what it looks like, okay? So 1, and then we're going to go ahead and yarn over, go through the second post, and do the same thing. This way you'll see what it looks like. You can see the difference. Three, 4, and 5. Okay. So from here you can see the difference. This one is with the 3 chains, whereas this one is with 1 chain. And you can see how they look, and it really comes down to your preference per project. Everybody has a different preference, and each project works differently as well. If you're going to put tassels on it, I recommend the 3. It gives you a little more space. If you're just looking for something a little bit more scaled in general, the 1 works great. So we're going to do the next one here. I'm going to do, so again, some people do a single crochet. Some people just skip right over it and go to the next one. It really depends on how you want the project to look. We are going to go ahead and do our next one here. So single crochet into the next V-stitch, and then do your 5 post double crochet. We're going to move into the next step here in just a few moments. When we get to the next step, which is row 2, things get a little interesting, and that's when I really like to show people kind of what to look for. 4, 5. Okay, pull out some more yarn. 1, just to kind of keep the process going. I'm going to do 1s. There we go. Again, sorry for the blurry. If you need me to slow down at all, let me know. I can do another video shoot to slow down. Right now, the idea is that this is for those who are already aware of how crochet, how to double crochet, all of that, and really just wanting to understand how to do a crocodile stitch easily. If you do not know how to do a double crochet or you're having trouble with it, I will have other videos up soon regarding your basics as well as some tutorials on my blog at magicsparkcrafts.wordpress.com. And no, I do not edit. If I make mistakes, I do like to show, I mean within reason of course, I do like to show though that those who teach still make mistakes, because guess what, they do. So here we are at the double crochet and the chain extras that we did. So the double crochet is one, the 2 chains is another one. So we've already done our single crochet stitch into the next V-stitch. This is our last V-stitch, I should say, with the chain counting as a double crochet. So we're going to go ahead and go between the double crochet and the 2 chains and 2 double crochet. I'm sorry, 5 double crochet. Take a sip of our coffee, tea, water, beer, whatever your choice is when you crochet. Coffee. The lifeblood. 3, 4, and 5. For fun and giggles, I'm going to go ahead and chain 3 so that both of the end ones look the same on this, because you never know how that looks. Also, it can be fun to keep things even and balanced, especially when you have mild balancing OCD issues. 2, 3. Okay, really, Katie? There we go. Let's start that again. 3, there we go. 4, see, we get frustrated too. Those of us who like to show and teach, we still get frustrated. And 5. Alright, so here we go. It actually kind of looks cool with the 3s and the 2s and the 1s. Okay, so we've got 4. Oh, that looks really nice. 4 of the crochet crocodile stitch. 2 of them on mine have chain 3s and 2 of them have chain 1s. Comes out kind of nice. Looks a little bit like it was, I don't even know, it kind of looks elfin. I could be wrong. What does it look like to you? Anyway, we're going to move on to the next step. So the next step gets a little interesting, because instead of matching for ours, we do have to add double crochet. So if you're going to end up going out like it's a mermaid tail, so I want everyone to picture this. If you're going to go out like it's a mermaid tail, you're going to need to add more V-stitches and double crochets. So what you do for that is you're going to start doing V-stitch there, then do your chain 2, and a V-stitch there, do your chain 2, and so on and so forth. You'll add to here. Otherwise, if it's just going to be a straight pattern, which is not often, that's why I'm telling you this, if it's just going to be a straight squared type pattern, what you'll do here is you're going to slip stitch in between the first post. Okay, so that rounds that out. You're going to chain 2, yarn over, double crochet into the same between post area. Okay, so this is what we have here, right? Chain 2, double crochet. We're going to chain 2. This is where it gets a little weird. So you're going to, you don't have to worry about that single crochet that we did between the 2 double crochets in between the stitches. Just go ahead and go right between them all over again, because that's going to keep all of that nice and steady. Double crochet twice in that spot. So I'm going to flip this over and show you how it looks. We'll start with this side. So we've got our chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet. There's a V-stitch in the middle of this crocodile stitch. There's a V-stitch between the 2 crocodile stitches, and on the back side it begins to look like this. You start getting an interesting cabling. Okay? So we're going to do this across. Chain 2. Now that chain 2 helps to match the width of the double crochet right there on each of those crocodile stitches. That's why you do the chain 2. Otherwise you end up with a really scrunchy looking thing. And I mean, if that's what you want, go for it. Give it a try, see how it looks, and have fun playing around with this stitch. But the basics of it is V-stitch, V-stitch, V-stitch. Always, always V-stitch. Chain 2. Handling it does get a little interesting. Now, funny story, I did make a mermaid tail for an adult. It was an extra small, so it did not fit me because I'm a medium. But I found it fascinating the way that the weight worked out, because how much yarn it took. It took, I want to say, 5 or 6 skeins of the Red Heart Plum pudding, which is 5 ounces a skein, however you want to pronounce it. I've heard it multiple ways. 5 ounces of skein. It took about 5 to 6 of them. I think I went a little over into the 6th one. So it was over 15 ounces, which means it was about a pound for the whole thing. Now that doesn't sound like a lot, because what, see how that happens when you don't do your chain 2s? But a pound doesn't sound like a lot for a blanket, but when you start realizing that was an extra small blanket, and just carrying around a pound of yarn sounds tiny until it's all put together. It really was a very strange and interesting thing to do, because I was not anticipating the weight of it. It was very, very warm. So this really does take up a lot of yarn. It's great for projects where you just want to get rid of some yarn. If you have a lot of yarn and you just kind of want to, you don't really want to do the granny square stuff, then try and do some crocodile stitches. You can come up with some really cool patterns with multiple yarn colors. All right, next phase. So depending on how you want your crocodile stitch to look, if you want your stitches to all line up, so you have crocodile stitch, you can do crocodile stitch, so on and so forth. If you want them to be different, follow this pattern accordingly. So the next step we're going to do is we're going to chain 1, then we're going to rotate around, and we're going to go right between the 2 posts and just single crochet, because we're going to treat these now as the in-betweens, because we're going to have our crocodile stitch go in between each of the crocodile stitch of the previous row. So now we've got our stitch there, yarn over, and go between your 2 posts, just like we did before, between the 2 posts into the space that's between all the V stitches, and you're going to do 5. 1. I'll show you in just a second what that looks like. 2. Okay, probably 25 seconds. Don't quote me on that. 3, 4, and 5. So you can start to see how this is scaling up. we're going to go ahead here and do 1 or 3, whichever you prefer. You can even do 2 if you want to. You can do 4. However, this is your project in the long run, but if you're just learning this, stick with what you feel comfortable with to learn. I always highly recommend you put volume up on a video if you like what you're seeing and you want to make sure you understand what is being said. Always turn the volume up. If you don't have the volume up, you're not hearing this anyway, and you're just going by the video, and you're going to end up with some weird thoughts and processes. But that's okay. So, here we go. I'm going to pull that. There we go. Alright. So, beautiful, beautiful crocodile stitch, also known as dragon scale, mermaid tail scale, all sorts of fun things you can call this. So there's how you can get the crocodile stitches between each other. Okay, we're going to go to the end here, give you the time to enjoy the video rather than have YouTube jump you right over to the next video while you're still trying to practice. It'll also give you additional time to look at how I'm doing this. And since I'm actually using the phone in front of me as my eyes, I don't see what I'm doing without using the phone screen. So it gets a little interesting. That's why it seems like I do some weird or strange things. I'm trying to see what the camera's seeing. Since the phone on a tripod is directly in front of my eyes. Once I have better everything to do, once I have like a lapel camera, it'll be a little easier to do these for you. I'll also be able to offer, and I can offer, if you live in the area near me, I can offer in-person crochet lessons. I do host a meetup that's a crochet meetup. It's called Sarasota Manatee Crochet, or Sarasota Crochet. There is a group on Facebook that you can find. You're welcome to join if you're in the Sarasota Manatee area. We do meet up generally right now at Starbucks and Panera's because that's always easiest, and yarn and coffee go together like cookies and cream. If you're not in those areas, I am working on being able to provide one-on-one training and coaching in general for crochet through Skype or other video means, and I am looking into that. That may not be until next year. I know it's early 2018, but I've got a few things on the plate for this year. That may not be until next year, but we will see what we can work out. So I've got my second. We're going to get this. Yes, I did. Okay. We're going to go ahead. This will be the third scale. This is the last scale. Grabbing too many things, not seeing what I'm doing. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, for pattern's sake, here we go. 3, 4, and 5. Alright, so I've got my last scale and I've got a V-stitch right here at the end. So the only thing I have left to do really is to single crochet. So now you're here, you've got the end bit, 4 and 3. How are we going to get back to 4? Because we're going to want them to be staggered from one another. Easy. Just go ahead and start off on your single crochet there and chain 2. 1, 2. Double crochet into the same V as you had before. It does not have to be in the single crochet. It can be directly into the V, whichever you prefer. Everybody has a different way of crochet. There is no right or wrong answers. There are only new stitches. So there we go. Our V, chain 2. Our V stitch right between there. Good to go. Okay. Chain 2. Alright, so you probably don't want to sit here and watch me continue to the very end and do a whole other one. So I'm going to stop right here. I'm going to prop this up with my needles, my pin box there, so that you can actually see this. So what I've got going on here is I've got my V-stitches starting up again in the exact same pattern as the first. You'll V-stitch again there. After you chain 2, V-stitch, chain 2, V-stitch, chain 2, V-stitch into the last one. Don't forget to do that. So once you've done that, you can then do your chain 1 and then 5 in, 3, 2, 1, 5 out, single crochet, 5 in, 5 out, so on and so forth. You'll end up with it going in a pattern and around. If you're looking to expand, your expansions are always going to be in the double crochet of the outside crocodile stitches. The ones that are inside like this, you won't really be able to expand or extend the stitch out into that shaping like a blanket very well. It's always going to end up very weird. From here though, you've got yourself a very nice start and setup. You can work on creating very different things. In the round can get a little interesting because you do need to make sure you keep your count in order if you're creating your own patterns. If you're looking at other people's patterns, make sure that if you do have to reduce stitch whenever you're doing something that has to be worn, reduce the stitch by the amount generally that is allotted. So if it's, in this case, this is a 6 plus 3 increment, you always want to reduce the stitches by 6 so that you still have that additional. Now the reason for that is because every 6 stitches you've got a V-stitch for your scale and a V-stitch for your space. That's why you need to do it that way. If you only do it by 3, you're going to end up with a space at the end and a stitch on the end with the scale, and it's just not going to work very well. So I hope you've enjoyed this video tutorial today with Magic Spark Crafts. We hope that you are having a wonderful new year, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in my next tutorial for January or February or whenever you're watching this. If you're watching this any other time of the year, I hope you've had a wonderful year so far. If you're watching this at the end of the year, I hope the next year is even better than this year, and if this year was terrible for you, I am so sorry, but may yarn and crochet be the best thing in life. In the meantime, you all have a wonderful day, and may a spark of magic be in every craft. Bye bye.